It's a deadly game because the expectation for experience will never be satisfied, because ultimately the problem is people's hearts aren't longing for Christ. You'll never satisfy an appetite that doesn't ultimately find its end in Christ. It's always going to crave more. Some of these people here, they don't want status quo. They don't want status reversal. They don't want things to change. They're just there for the show. Okay? We see those people. This brings me to my third point. Sometimes we expect sensational experiences from Jesus. Unless Jesus gives us a really sensational experience, he's not worth following. John 12:17-18, the crowd that had been with them when he called Lazarus out of the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to bear witness. The reason why the crowd went to meet him was that they had heard he had done this sign. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to make a comparison between this group and the Greeks who want to see Jesus. This group is following because they saw a sign. The other group, when they come, they say, "Sir, we want to see Jesus." Right? So that's where I'm making that contrast there. There's a group of people here and who have from the very beginning in Jesus' ministry been following Christ, not because they want to see Jesus, but because they enjoy the spectacle of Jesus' ministry. Again, let me remind you of John 6, where other times it's happened again. Jesus speaks about these people in John 6:26, where he says, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you are seeking me not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of loaves." So it's possible people do sometimes follow after Jesus because they really like what Jesus does for them. They might not love him as Lord, but they really love the experience of what happens, the spectacle of Jesus. They don't want to miss the next best thing, in other words. I know it's crazy to think about for us to use this kind of language, but Lazarus's moment goes viral. And word spreads like fire, and people hear about it because they don't really want to miss a moment. That's why they're coming. They don't want to miss a moment, but they don't really care if they miss the Messiah. One of the recent blights in American Christianity is on this concentration on experiences. Even this week, I've gotten dozens of emails, literally dozens of emails about how to create the best Easter experience. You can go to conferences and have workshops on creating the best environments and experiences. Even pastors' vernacular has changed. It's one of the ways Redeemer, we're like, we want to cognitively not say these things. But you'll have production teams that create a Sunday morning experience. We're small, but one day Redeemer will be tempted to think, if we just did this, more people would come. I fight that temptation all the time. It's a deadly game because the expectation for experience will never be satisfied, because ultimately the problem is people's hearts aren't longing for Christ. You'll never satisfy an appetite that doesn't ultimately find its end in Christ. It's always going to crave more. There's a moment you guys might remember last July where Morgan and I had a prayer request for you all. This is being recorded on the internet. I'm not going to just share everything here, but we were in Children's Hospital for a particular test. And we saw the absolute devastation of the effects of the fall. Brutal diseases. A 12-year-old child was wheeled in a wagon in front of us because they don't make strollers big enough for people with this level of complex diseases. And so I'm watching this, and in relief, I'm on Twitter, and I'm reading about a church in Cincinnati which does a Super Mario Brothers themed Sunday. And then even most recently, Super Bowl Sunday, they're doing kickoffs and stuff. And I thought to myself, what in the world does that sensation offer to the mother who is wheeling her child into this hospital? Are we implying by this that the resurrection is insufficient? Are we implying that the resurrection is not incredible enough, is not worthy of enough glory and attention? Is that announcement not enough? Palm Sunday shows us that people can have a life-changing experience. They can witness something miraculous even. And they want him to do more. They want Christ to do more, but completely miss Christ because they cared more, because we care more about what Jesus can do for us rather than who Jesus is for us. That's the message of Palm Sunday in a really important way. What do you expect of Jesus? And all these expectations are human. And at any one point, all of us here are going to have one of these expectations for Jesus. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make war with those expectations, and we will need to know what Jesus expects from us more.